ありますよね。はい、写真用に。まだだ。The opening plenary session is due to start in a few minutes, so please go back to your seats. Before the session starts, I would like to make a few announcements. First of all, in case of emergency, please follow the instructions from the Congress Center. Next, you will see the official TGSW photographers taking photos throughout the symposium. You will easily recognize them as they wear an official armband. You, as an audience, however, are cordially requested to refrain from taking photos and videotaping any sessions without consent from the session organizer. Please contact each session organizers for permission. Please also note that photos and videos taken by the TGSW photographers will be used only for PR purposes, such as posters, website, and so on. And finally, for all the online participants, because of the copyright regulations, please refrain from recording or taking screenshots of the meeting video during the session. Thank you for your cooperation. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, all over the world. Welcome to Tsukuba Global Science Week 2022. My name is Ikeda Jun, Vice President for Planning, Evaluation, and Public Relations. All of us here at the University of Tsukuba wholeheartedly welcome you all to TGSW, the largest annual research showcase that Tsukuba Science City has to offer. This is the 12th TGSW, but the previous two TGSWs were held online because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I am really pleased to say that we can hold a face-to-face TGSW for the first time in 3 years, with presenters from research institutions and universities throughout the world. And about 1,200 individuals have registered online to attend over 30 sessions, including 12 hybrid sessions. TGSW has gained endorsement of government ministries and agencies, especially 3 central government agencies: Cabinet Office, Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, and Technology, and Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry, as well as 2 local governments, the Ibaraki Prefecture Government and the Tsukuba City Government, have lent their official support to TGSW. We are very grateful for their official endorsement to our annual symposium. Now, let me introduce our special guests attending this opening session. Dr. Igarashi Tatsuo, Mayor of Tsukuba. Dr. Hirayama Yuta, Smart City Project Leader at the World Economic Forum Center for the 4th Industrial Revolution, Japan. Dr. Moriguchi Yuichi, Vice President of National Institute for Environmental Studies. and there are a lot more audience and important guests online. Now, I would like to start the opening plenary session. The session starts with opening remarks by the president of the University of Tsukuba. Now, let me invite Dr. Nagata Kyosuke, the president of the University of Tsukuba, to offer you warm welcome and opening remarks.
Okay. Good morning, dear friends on site here at Tsukuba. And good afternoon and good evening through online, dear friends. I'm really happy to see you again since we did quit the on-site TGSW in these 2 years. And finally, even with the hybrid system, but finally, we will see you again at Tsukuba and University of Tsukuba. Slide, please. Right, next slide. So this is a scenery of Tsukuba. Mount Tsukuba is welcome all of you to the Tsukuba Science City and University of Tsukuba. Next slide, please. And probably there are newcomers in the TGSW, so that I just briefly show you that where is the Tsukuba or where is the University of Tsukuba? Just University of Tsukuba is just located in the center of the Tsukuba Science City and surrounded by the number of national institutions and private research institute. So this is showing you that city is really a science city. Next slide, please. And recently, University of Tsukuba was assigned as one of the designated national university corporation. There are 86 national universities in Japan. Only 10 universities were selected for the designated national universities. Well, I skipped that the detail, what means of the designated university. But anyway, we are going based on whatever we have been doing, and then we are making a future. Okay, next slide, please. And this slide actually was made several years ago. Just you look at, we have the number of global issues: food problem, drought, poverty, international disputes, and infection diseases. But I didn't really think that the infection diseases is real critical matters for the people on the earth. But in fact, 2.5 years, maybe 8 months ago, we encountered the COVID-19 infection and all over the world. So now we realize that the infection diseases is really one of the real global issues. So same thing true for the poverty, other issues. We have to facing and we have to solve these problems with science and technology. That's the mission of universities. Next slide, please. And what I am saying is just summarizing this slide. To solve global issues, I believe, and we believe, at least the academia people believe, science and technology will support or help or solve these kind of issues. But right now we have a number of the problem in the science and technology. Everything is narrowed down into some specific field. And sometimes you don't know the people next to you is doing. Well, we are very isolated. So therefore, now we have to encourage or enhance again that the collaboration with number of the people beyond the disciplines, beyond the national borders, beyond their organization systems. Next slide, please. So can we do this? Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. So that we plan, actually we established at the TGSW and 12 years ago to solve the issues together with all people who are involved in science and technology. In 2010, we started with the very small groups, but number of the participants are increasing and increasing. And recently we count them. More than 10,000 participants already joined in a TGSW where we discussed their science and technology to solve their global issues. Next slide, please. Well, actually, after this first session, we have photographed with all of you. And I would like to mention one thing. In parallel with the TGSW, Tsukuba Conference Committee launched that year Tsukuba Conference. We first held the Tsukuba Conference in 2019. And this slide summarizes that the next one that exactly will be held at the same time in the next year. So September 26th to 28th. And this Tsukuba Conference is the expanded version of TGSW. TGSW is for the partners. However, Tsukuba Conference is not only for the partner, but also young entrepreneur or young researchers to discuss their same issue. But we focus on science and society. So science can, what science can do for the society, what society can do for the science. That's our main theme in this Tsukuba conference. So please come back next year. Well, since still this is just a beginning of the TGSW 2022, but I cordially invite you to come to the Tsukuba Conference 2023. And next slide, please. And recently, we actually realized that there is another problems in the fundamental or meanings. There are so many fixed matters. Something in your brain, something in the society, something in your organization. Well, it is very comfortable for us, but always innovation is going beyond the fixed idea. So we have to overcome of this fixed situation in any kind of sense. So that otherwise we can't solve the most critical problem, which is clearly seen by the COVID-19. So disparity and division. How we can overcome this? Next slide, please. And so that we are believe to solve this problem. Trust is one of the basic things. The trust between persons, trust between countries, trust between people and organization, people and country. Well, any kind of it. We have to establish that this kind of trust, so-called global trust. I think trust is based on responsibility and reliability, of course, accountability, but also ethics and empathy in any sense. That's probably starting point to solve their global issues, even by science and technology. Next slide, please. For example, we are now facing the very important problem, so-called research integrity. Why? Because research achievements sometimes bring us that the terrible things. For example, atomic bomb or some other things. But still, I believe that science and technology is very useful for the people and the earth. Therefore, we have to make new type of the research integrity. Of course, educational integrity too. That's actually the not restrict the academic activities. That's probably make the academic activity more trustable. In that sense, the academia should challenge this problem. So we believe their freedom. We believe their democracy. We believe their human rights. And also, we operate everything under the law. That's consensus for before going to the detail of science and technology. But how make it? This is very difficult for everybody, but the academia or university, at least participants and TGSW, try to make it possible. Next slide, probably last one. Okay, so here again, we are now in Tsukuba Science City. Now we are in University of Tsukuba. So during the year coming 3 days, including today, you please enjoy the discussion for any sense. And then you try to create at least the bit of the cue for the year future. Okay? So please enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Nagata. Now we come to the main feature of the opening session, the special keynote speech. As already announced on the official website, the special keynote speaker has been changed from Professor Dr. Karin Samuel of the University of Grenoble-Alpes to Professor Gaël Calvary of the same university. Before I invite Professor Calvary, I would like to ask Professor Etienne Guérard of the University of Grenoble-Alpes to read a greeting message from Dr. Yassine Laknesh, President of the University of Grenoble-Alpes, who will join us from tomorrow. So please.
Dear officials, dear chancellors and presidents, fellow delegates, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate the University of Tsukuba on opening TGSW 2022. I have had the pleasure twice before of participating in TGSW, and each time I am always impressed to see how it brings together a wide range of international researchers to Tsukuba Science City for discussions beyond borders and disciplines to solve global issues. This influential event also aims to provide a platform for building global networks of collaboration through lively discussion here in Tsukuba. In order to tackle societal challenges, the very role of leading universities, it is extremely important to gather researchers, students, and science cities to prepare tomorrow's world. Université Grenoble-Alpes is proud and happy to join this effort led by University of Tsukuba. Recently, Université Grenoble-Alpes and University of Tsukuba have been deepening their collaborations. To name a few examples, I can mention the Campus in Campus Initiatives Agreement since 2017 for student exchange between partner universities, the double degree master program, the double degree PhD program, and JFAST, Japanese-French Research Laboratory for Semiconductor Physics and Technology, for which an agreement has just been signed this year between the two universities and CNRS, the French National Center for Scientific Research. I wish the TGSW 2022 edition will be a great success and also for a closer collaboration between Université Grenoble-Alpes and University of Tsukuba in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Guerra. Now, I would like to invite Professor Gaël Calvary for the special keynote speech. Dr. Gaël Calvary is a professor in computer science at the NCMAG Software Engineering School of Grenoble, INP Institute Polytechnique de Grenoble, as well as Institute of Engineering and Management of the University of Grenoble-Alpes. She is an expert in human-computer interaction engineering. She is also Vice President for Technology Transfer at Grenoble INP and Deputy Vice President for Innovation at the University of Grenoble-Alpes. Professor Calvary, thank you for joining us at TGSW 2022 after midnight in France. So please start your keynote speech. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for your kind introduction. That's very kind from you. So dear officials, dear chancellors and presidents, fellow delegates, dear colleagues, it's really an honor for me to give this talk this morning, early morning in France, but it's really a pleasure and I'll do my best to express key ideas I have in mind for smart cities. And the key point will be smart city as a process. So usually, I don't know if it works. I have the feeling it doesn't work. Yeah, it's okay. So sorry for that. So usually the concept of a smart city refers to a technological, modern urban area that uses computational facilities such as sensors, electronics, data analytics, optimization methods, and so on to manage resources and services efficiently. And of course, I hope you agree with me, this view has to change radically right now and actually has started changing to include many other perspectives, such as social aspects. And so, just to start, have a look, please, to these controversial pictures from Eric Pigergill, an internationally renowned photographer, about technologically connected people, but completely socially disconnected people. And of course, the question is this, do we desire that? Do you believe that these people who are side by side, whatever the generation is, in everyday life, but also in exceptional days such as weddings, each one locked on his phone, totally ignoring his neighbors? Is this normal? Is this the city we dream on? And so the very question we have is how to balance technical and social aspects. In the same way, the question is the same: how to balance technological and sustainable aspects? Do we desire such neon cities? And so today, given the global challenges we have to face too, such climate changes, the need to preserve resources and biodiversity, the aspiration we have to inclusiveness and justice, we need to address sustainable development goals as an integrated part of smart cities. And integration is the key word I'll use in this talk, because we have to balance and to integrate multiple concerns that have ignored so far and that we must cope with now in the future. And so when one takes the endeavor to develop a smart city, one has to figure out not only the environmental effects and societal consequences of the use of information and communication technologies, such of course as Internet of Things and other systems to monitor traffic and transportation systems, schools, libraries, hospitals and other community services. But in fact, environmental and societal goals must be part of the functional specifications of such systems. It can be suggested that a smart city uses information technology to three purposes. The first one being to make more efficient use of physical infrastructure, such as road, through data analytics, artificial intelligence, in order to support a strong economic and societal development. The second being to take advantage of human intelligence, and that's important, collective intelligence and artificial intelligence, and the synergy between these. And last but not least, to use this energy and computational power to be ready to adapt more quickly and easily to changes, whether smooth or abrupt, for instance, disasters, thus making society adaptive and resilient. Taking into account sustainable development goals introduces new design and operative constraints. For instance, exaggerated use of computational power leads to abusive energy and material consumption. It is not only about energy proportional computing, which refers to the ratio of power used for useful work and effective computing, and the overall energy consumption, including, for instance, cooling, fault tolerance, and so on, but also about optimizing energy consumption for useful computations. This is a very challenging problem for computer scientists and device designers. We are. Indeed, tackling this problem requires a complete change of paradigm, where not only functional specifications have to be considered, which is done so far, but also physical properties such as time and energy have to be considered from the beginning of the design process to the end. This requires to reinvent mathematical models underlying those designs and revesting the development change. Compilers have, for instance, to include such constraints in order to optimize the generated machine code, taking into account the physical characteristics of the machine that will execute the generated code. At Université Grenoble-Alpes, we have a flagship project that considers these problems, for instance. Introducing constraints related to sustainable development requires also research in humanities and social sciences, and more generally in multidisciplinarity, and this is mandatory to develop holistic, systemic solutions to global challenges. And so the question is, what makes people love their cities? Italo Calvino states that it has nothing to do with the 7 or 70 wonders of a city. The key is in the answer it gives to a question of yours. So the answer is human-centered. As a consequence, as developed by Jane Jacobs, the point of cities, the challenge of cities for the future is multiplicity of choice. with of course the constraints of making everything easily accessible, which leads Carlos Moreno to the concept of quarter-hour city. Obviously, multidisciplinarity is mandatory right now to develop holistic, systemic solutions to global challenges. For a long time, Gilbert Cockton, I don't know if you know him, professor at Northumbria University. Gilbert Cockton, who is famous in my research field, which is human-computer interaction. Gilbert Cockton has been advocating for an open-mind big picture that balances many points of view, even though he comes from this HCI community, which traditionally claims for human-centered design. He prefers the principle of a multi-foci approach along what he names a big process, big meaning balanced, integrated, and generous process. His balanced, integrated, and generous paradigm for design seeks to combine the strengths of creative, engineering, and human-centered design in ways that neutralize their individual weaknesses. And this is exactly what we need to satisfy the many requirements and constraints we have when designing the future of cities. In the line of this call for multidisciplinarity, integrating technology, social and environmental aspects, we launched at Université Grenoble-Alpes a number of flagships, which names are cross-disciplinary programs. And just to mention a few of them related to smart cities, I'll mention two of them, Mobile Air and EcoCISA, and let's start with the EcoCISA flagship we have at Université Grenoble-Alpes to make progress together by putting together people, researchers, practitioners from different communities, covering social, economics, disciplines. The project EcoCISA tackles the problem of renewable energies confronting the standard, centralized, unidirectional operating mode of urban grids and the relationship of individuals and communities to energy at large. Based on observations at the building and district scales, EcoCISA aims to produce knowledge, concepts, tools and methods to rethink the planning, management and government of urban energy systems as well as the design of their components. To reach safe, efficient, sustainable and accessible energy, these contributions will be shared with the scientific communities, whatever they are, and the city and energy stakeholders. And this is highly important to involve all the city managers in the loop. The project, the EcoCISA project, addresses a large number of scientific objectives to integrate on-the-spot renewable energy generation in urban areas. I do not mention these 5 objectives today, but I'll just focus on the integrated system approach we run. And this is structured around 5 tightly related emerging multidisciplinary research fronts linked to scientific communities working on energy fields, but each one from his own perspective, of course. The first one is about interactive systems to involve occupants of building. I'll zoom in it just as example, just after mentioning the 4 others, which are emerging behaviors from individual to communities, interaction modelings between buildings and with grids in a district, architectures for integration of renewable on-the-spot generation, components and materials, specifications from a proper integration into systems. With this list of 5 research fronts, we see the large scope of the project and the need of putting together people from different communities to tackle the problem from the largest view, big picture as claimed by Gilbert Cochrane. And so now, let's zoom in the first research front just to have a look to examples of research questions. And the first research front is about interactive systems to involve occupants of buildings. One research question in this research front is how to make people change attitudes and or behaviors. This applies, for example, to make people practice sport, to make people stop smoking, to make people eat healthy, and so on. And so how to support people in changing attitudes and or behaviors? Nudges are possible means with the open question of how to present information to the end user so that to increase sustainable impact and to maintain the change of behavior over time. Stopping smoking during 2 days is feasible, but stopping in the long term is much more challenging. And so there is one reference paper in the field coming from Japan, and so it's a pleasure for me to mention this work today, of course, which explores different paradigms. For example, persuasive art, we see in this slide, with graceful degradation or beautification of Mona Lisa, depending on the user's behavior. Other presentations are about landscaping painting with evolving trees, depending on the good or bad behavior of people, abstract painting or concrete life painting. And so you see the large diversity of technical solutions to help people change their attitudes and or behaviors. And the question is, of course, which presentation has the highest impact on people? And of course, the answers depend on people. So these techniques are generic, applied to different fields. For example, water consumption. So here you see a green or red light depending on the number of liters one uses in his/her shower. For a multi-uses representation, on the right you see shower calendar, which is explored for a family, a context of a family, with a kind of competition between people. And you see the number of liters people use during 1 month. And the point is to show people how their own consumption evolves, but also compared to the other persons who live in the same house. And this is based, of course, on the paper from Japan. Other examples of applications are, for example, tooth brushing for kids with the design decision of changing the number and the diversity of fishes depending on the kid's behavior. In the same way, you have at the bottom the application to sport with the number and diversity of flowers that depends on the person's behavior. And so this is just an illustration to show you what kind of research questions we address at Université Grenoble-Alpes in this flagship, and to which extent it is important to make people work together, whatever their research field is. Sociologists, human factors people, engineers, and this is exactly the rich context for making progress together. The second example of flagship I'd like to mention today, because it is related to smart city as well, is Mobile Air. This flagship studies atmospheric pollution in cities, and this is a problem you are familiar with. It is the same for us in Grenoble, and a related major challenge for public health. Adopting a thoroughly interdisciplinary approach, the Mobile Air project aims to identify precise measures to significantly reduce atmospheric pollution in cities and its impacts. Drawing on the considerable pluridisciplinary diversity of the Grenoble campus, Mobile Air will develop an integrated approach. Integration, do you remember? Integrated approach in the urban area of Grenoble. Working in partnership with local government, the Mobile Air project will combine modeling, environmental measures, recurrent surveys of local residents, cohorts with their biobanks, study of impacts on public health, direct intervention on several hundred households by a team of researchers. Each scientific will work on one or more issues related to air pollutions, economics, specializing in transport, the environment and public health, sociologists, behavioral psychologists, geographers, epidemiologists, specialists in modeling the atmosphere, interaction between transport mode and land usage. And up to now, one of the important findings of Mobile Air that is starting changing legislation and rules, which is a very important impact of research, is that measuring oxidative potential of particulate matter is more relevant than measuring particles concentration. And this is typically research that helps policymakers in their decisions. The city of Grenoble is partner of all these flagships related to smart city. Grenoble is in fact the first city in France that has endorsed a climate plan, and this was in 2005. The plan targets a reduction by 50% of greenhouse gas emissions and 30% of renewable energy by 2030. The city needs the knowledge, technology, and advice of the university in order to achieve these goals. Multidisciplinary, multiple point of view, integration, balance, do you remember? Therefore, a scientific council composed of faculty and university researchers has been put in place. Furthermore, two faculty are organizing a citizens' convention for the climate. And so now it's time to conclude the talk. Just to sum up by telling that smart city must be considered as a big process, big being balanced, integrated and generous to investigate as many alternatives as possible so that to increase the probability of achieving the best one for people. And this big process to cope with many concerns, including small resources, to include the sustainable development goals we all have to cope with together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Calvary, for illuminating talk with concrete examples and important messages about how university and city can cooperate for this challenge. Thank you very much. Do we have
Thank you to
time
you.
for one or two questions? Yeah. So we have time to take one or two questions. Huh? No time. Okay. I'm just told that we are running short of time, so I'm sorry that we cannot take questions. But I'm sure that your messages will have important bearings on the main sessions that follows. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you for the kind invitation, and I wish you a beautiful week, Science Week.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And next time, please join us. Yeah. We'll hope to see you in person next time. Thank you very much. Okay, now I would like to close the session. Thank you all for joining this session. And now I would like to invite all the participants, physical participants here, to the stage to take a photo. So now picture time. Please, all the audience, come to the stage and let us take a photo. Ah, そうです。